All right, what's going on, everybody? I once read a tweet from Ty Lopez one time. He said that you're just one relationship away from your life changing forever. It's the truth. One person can really change the way you look and live your life forever. And oftentimes that one person comes in the form of a mentor, and all the greats that have their names cemented in history books all had mentors. Marcus Aurelius, Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs, Mike Tyson. The list is endless. Now, if you don't have a strong mentor, you're not alone. And that's okay, because you don't have to personally know someone for them to be your mentor. Today I brought a very special guest, Mark Timm. Now, Mark Timm is the co-author of this book right here, Mentor to Millions, who he wrote with his mentor, Kevin Harrington. And Kevin Harrington scaled 20 businesses to do $100 million in sales, is the inventor of the infomercial, and was an original shark on Shark Tank. And Mark Timm got to spend years working side by side with Kevin and putting all the lessons he learned and applied from Kevin into this extremely powerful and inspiring book here, Mentor to Millions. Now, by the end of this interview, you're going to have a clear understanding on why having a successful mentor is important. You get a new perspective on how to have a successful family dynamic, and you'll feel inspired that it's not too late to turn things around in your life with proper guidance. So thank you, Mark, for taking the time to be out here today.
Man, thank you for having me. What an intro. I'm super excited to be here. Super excited to share this message of mentorship with your community. I mean, we all need mentors in our life. That's why we wrote it. Super successful people, they've got mentors in their life. That's their secret to their success. And we want everybody to experience that success.
Excellent, man. So, a big interesting fact about you is that you're originally mentored by Zig Ziglar. Yeah. And one of his conference, he took an interest in you and, became a mentor to you and early in your entrepreneur journey. What do you think made you stand out to Zig that made him want to mentor you?
Yeah, so I got to share the stage, believe it or not. I'm 19 years old. I'm speaking on stage, and Zig Ziglar's the keynote speaker. He was probably paid $1 gazillion to be there, and I'm just glad to be up there. And I don't know exactly what it was, except for I was ready for a mentor. And I think that's the key thing. People say, how do you get a mentor? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. And so when you're ready, and I don't mean I need, I mean, I'm ready. And I was ready for a mentor in my life. I was ready to take my life to the next level. I think that's what Zig saw. He's like, I see a young man that could be more, that could do more, that could have more in life, and he needs a mentor. And he put his arm around me and he said, come be my guest in Dallas, Texas. And that's where he had his Born to Win conference. And I flew down to Dallas, Texas, a 19-year-old, and I was his guest. I had dinner with him and the redhead, and he poured into my life, and I became his best student. And that's how the relationship works. You get the right mentor, then you become the right student, and then you start sharing that wisdom with other people. And my life changed forever from that moment of mentorship.
Wow. And one thing that, we always want to make sure that the relationships are win-win. So when we want to add value to a mentor, a potential mentor, but let's say we don't have a big network or something that we how can I add value? What's a great way to give value to a potential mentor that would really entice them to want to mentor you?
Well, this is going to be overly simple, but it is overly powerful. So a couple things. When I went, people say, how'd you get a shark from Shark Tank? They know Shark Tank. They're like, I'd like to have one of them mentor me. How'd you do that? And I went to him and I said, look, Kevin, your time is extremely valuable. I'm going to make this, if you'll mentor me, I will make this very easy for you, and I will be your best student. I'm telling you right now, the best thing you can do for any mentor is be their best student. Actually act on the things they're teaching you. Actually implement what they're telling you. They get energy out of that. They're at a stage in life where they know that, remember, I mentioned this before, there's 3 steps to exponential impact. In the book, by the way, Mentor to Millions, that's not money, that's impact. If you've got a product, a purpose, or a passion that the world needs, the fastest way to get that to the world and the biggest way is through mentorship. But it works like this. You got to have a mentor, then you got to be their best student, and then you got to share that wisdom with other people. So mentors are sharing that wisdom, so they get energy out of seeing you implement. The worst thing you can do to a mentor is not implement. Not be their best student. Then they see you the next time. They're like, hey, how'd it work out? Oh man, Greg, I'm too busy. You know, I'll do it next time. Give me more of your good stuff. I'll do it next time. Well, that's not how it works. And so yeah, there's probably value you can add, but in any exchange, if you are a good mentor mentee, the mentor learns from you too. Okay. But they learn from you by you implementing their wisdom, and you may have a unique take on it or a different slant on it, and they watch you, and it just makes their wisdom even more powerful for the next person they share it with.
Wow, that's very powerful. One thing that Tony Robbins says is that proximity is power. Just get near the people you want to connect with. Like when you were working with Kevin, do you feel like a lot of your lessons came from him like explaining things, or do you feel like a lot of it was osmosis, just watching him live his life?
I've coined a phrase, I call it contagious proximity. So it's kind of what Tony's saying, and it really explains what he's talking about. Because when you're around someone, a lot of times it's caught more than it's taught. And so I chose Kevin as a mentor, and I chose to be in proximity to him. And so his mentorship, a lot of it became contagious because I would watch him negotiate. I would watch him interact with other people or speak. And I learned a lot from that process, not just from one-on-one sessions with him. And so it's contagious proximity is really, kind of that explanation of what Tony Robbins is talking about. And a lot of it came that way. I mean, I moved my family down to St. Petersburg for a little while just so I would travel, from the same spot as Kevin. We were going to the same conferences together, but by me being down in that area, I was able to travel on the same plane. And a lot of our mentorship happened on planes and Ubers, at hotels, at dinners. And so, it wasn't, again, he didn't have time to just hang out. I had to be where he was at to catch the big lessons that I learned.
Yeah, most definitely. One thing that I really found, like, there's so many fascinating stories in this book. And by the way, how you wrapped it up with the bow on the top at the end was perfect. I was like, look, I don't even have kids, and I'm like crying reading the part. I don't want to give away too much to those who haven't read it, but did a phenomenal job. But here's one thing that I remember in the book. You said that Kevin, you and Kevin started a new company called Exponential together.
Yep.
And you quoted Zig in saying that there's no elevator to success and that you must take the stairs. And you believe that because Kevin was who he was, he had the success he had, that like you guys were going to be great out the gates. And like you use like the analogy, like you go into the elevator and you're pushing the buttons, but nothing's really happening. And you met Kevin on the stairs. I want to know what was it that you were trying to do in that moment? Like, what were you as far as business moves, and what was he doing? What was he more focused on when it came to growing the business?
Yeah. So what we were doing is he was really focused on building his own brand. I mean, Shark Tank really, brought him into the world, right? It really, introduced Kevin Harrington as this brand. And I was really into digital marketing. So I thought, let's form a company where I use my digital marketing skills with his brand, and we'll just blow this thing up and have 1 billion people following us. But that was pushing the elevator to the penthouse. Like that was getting in there and just saying, hey, it's Kevin, and hey, it's Mark, and we're good at what we do. Let's go to the penthouse. But you know what? Even at the level of Kevin Harrington, and even at the level I was with digital marketing, we had to get out of the elevator, look for the sign for the stairs, and we had to walk that baby up. Okay. I mean, that's just the way it works. This book right here. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, just because Kevin and I wrote this book, and it's a good book. I mean, it's going to change a lot of lives. And I appreciate the comments you've given. Mentor to Millions is going to change lives, but we had to take the stairs. We didn't get to go to the front of the line. We've done over 200 podcasts. We've done over 100 media interviews. We've worked our butts off, and we just found out that we're the #1 book on Amazon in entrepreneurship. We're the #1 book in parenting. We're the #1 book in business and mentorship, the #1 book in startups, but we didn't get to push the button to the top. We literally had to take the stairs one step at a time, one podcast at a time, one interview at a time. We've got thousands of hours behind writing this book, behind sharing this book on programs like this. It just is the way it works. And if you think that you can get a mentor and go to the penthouse, that's not the way it works. That mentor, though, will show you the right stairs. And when you get tired and say, I can't do this anymore, they'll tell you to keep going. And they'll show you maybe how you can go up the stairs faster. But anybody who says they can take you to the top with a push of a button, that's not the mentor you want, because life just doesn't work that way. And it didn't work for us on Exponential. We had to do it the good old fashioned way, which was to work hard. And that led us to this book. And we believe that we can impact millions of people. And we believe we need to impact millions of people. Less than half of the people listening to this have a mentor. Less than half. We've got to do something about that. 46% of the people out there admit to having a mentor. That means over half the people don't. And we want everybody to have people that will breathe life into them when they need it most, so that they can breathe life into other people. And that's how life works. Our mutual mentor, Zig Ziglar, his famous quote, "You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want." And so, and the best way to do that is by having mentors and by being a mentor.
Wow. So let's say we take somebody who belongs to the majority, who don't have a mentor, and they're looking for one, and they're just like, I want to have a successful mentor. I personally believe that the wrong route, and correct me if I'm wrong, or a more arduous route would be trying to connect with a big name celebrity instead of going towards somebody who is maybe not as well known, but is also very successful. What would you say, like, if someone wants to have a mentor to help them out with their business at the beginning stages, and they're coachable, what can they do to start finding themselves a powerful mentor?
Yeah. I mean, to get a mentor like I did with Kevin or Zig, I mean, I got very fortunate with Zig. So all disclosure, very lucky with Zig. But you need to start having a mentor in your life. If you're going to end up with a celebrity mentor, it's going to be because you were a good student of other mentors. It's going to be someone else that introduces you. But here's the thing. I want to take the pressure off everybody. I believe everybody listening already knows everybody they need to know to accomplish everything they were put on this earth to accomplish. That's powerful. That takes the pressure off. Now, the question is, you may not know, the exact person, but you know somebody who's going to introduce you to that next person that you need to know. I didn't know Kevin Harrington. Kevin Harrington didn't know me, but I knew the children of Zig Ziglar, our mutual mentor, and the children of our mutual mentor introduced us to each other. And that's how it works. The student was ready, the mentor appeared, but through a mutual connection of our mutual mentor, Zig Ziglar. That's how it works. So when you think of it that way, that means you already know who you need to know, but do you have the courage to raise your hand and say, I'm ready. I'm ready to be mentored, because that person is out there. When you're ready, that mentor will show up. And then you have a good experience with that mentor. You become their best student, and that mentor will lead you to the next mentor, and that mentor to the next mentor, just like Zig led me to Kevin Harrington, even after he had passed this earth, because his legacy of mentorship passed through his children, and his children connected Kevin and I.
Wow, that's extremely powerful, man. It's very interesting too to think of, with like, everybody that you need to know right now, and it's just like when you're ready. Wow.
But it's not about who do you know, it's about whether you're ready. I mean, that's where people mess up, and they're like, well, I don't know enough people. I don't have a big enough network. No, you're not ready. You're basically saying you're not ready, because when you're ready, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. When you're ready to be mentored, when you're really ready to coach and learn, then you'll have the vulnerability and the courage to put yourself out there, and you'll find out that mentor's been there all along. They were just waiting for you to be ready. They're not going to come to your door and knock on your house and say, you got to get out there and say, I'm ready, and I've got the courage to be vulnerable and say I'm ready, and then they show up.
That's 100% right. Like, I knew my very first mentor. I knew my mentor first for a while, for maybe like a year or two. And then when I was like really looking like for answers specifically when it came to sales, he literally asked, he really just one told me like, hey, I would like to mentor you, but I was ready for that. You're 100% correct about that. One thing that stood out to me very, very much as well is that you said that you started running your family like a business as well. And that really brought you all together, and the stories you told as far as like the awesome things that you were able to do together and connect and bond is really inspiring to show like a family dynamic that can really make something happen like that. But I want to know, like, I'm sure that when you first presented the idea, I'm sure there might have been some resistance, or like it might have been a little challenging to get everybody on board. how did you deal with that initial resistance? Like, how was it presented to your family? Like, this is what we're going to do as far as helping us connect and like making this more efficient.
Like when I tell the story at the beginning of the book about how it happened, and I have my driveway moment, and I'm sitting at the driveway, and I'm like, I don't want to go home, right? I mean, this is a big spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you at the beginning of the book. I'm sitting in my driveway. I don't want to go home, and the reasons for not wanting to go home should be I filed bankruptcy or I lost a lot of money. But instead, I had one of the best days of my life work-wise. I crushed it. I had a biggest sale in my life. I was just flying high, feeling good. I didn't want to go home because I didn't want that feeling to end. I was leaving a world of confidence and clarity and going to a world of chaos and confusion. And I knew that wasn't right. I knew that wasn't who I was put on this earth to be. And that moment, everything changed in my life. And I said, wait a minute. What if I was going home? What if the most valuable business that I will ever own, ever operate, ever even be a part of was the one I was going home to, my family, not the one I went to? What if I was practicing in business so I could perfect it at home? And that day I sped home. I came in the house. My family must have thought I'd lost it, because I'm like, I got it figured out. I mean, I don't think they understood anything I was saying, but what they saw was passion and conviction. And they saw their father, and they saw a husband show up and say, I'm going to lead this family like I lead my businesses. And to do that, I went above and beyond. I legally incorporated my family. Like, you can look up my family in the incorporation register. It's 2B Timms LLC. I legally incorporated my family. I started running it like a business. Everything I was doing in business that worked, I brought it home. Okay, we had logos in our business. We had a family logo. We had mission statements. We had a family mission statement. We had meetings. Every Sunday night, we had a shareholder meeting. My youngest child had the same amount of shares that I did. And next thing you know, my kids realized that they had a voice and they had a vote and that they mattered and that our family mattered and that our family wasn't an accident. And it truly became, my family is my most valuable business. I am CEO of the most valuable business in the world, and that is the Timm family. And that's what I take the most pride in. And I share that in the book. Everything I learned from Kevin, everything I learned from Zig was so that I could apply it at home. And I want everybody to have that feeling. I want everybody to win at home like they win at any place at work. And I'm going to take more pressure off of you. I already told you already know everybody you need to know. What if I told you that if you're good at anything in business, you can be that good at home? You just start applying it, start doing what you're doing in business and do that at home. Be good at home in that same area. Apply it to your family. Everything we do at work, we can connect and apply at home. It really does work. And if you do nothing else, get this book because you want to win at home like you win at work. And we really unpack that in this book. I want everybody to mentor the most valuable team they will ever have, and that's their home team at home.
Yeah, 100% agree, because you spend most of your time with them and like you're most intimate. And yeah, and like it's so awesome because I have a very loving family already. I would love to also be like to have that even to on a deeper level. How many years ago was that when you found yourself in that driveway when you had that thought?
Yeah, what's cool is that it was about 7-8 years ago. So what's really cool is that I've been doing this now for a while, and now my kids are now young adults. So people would say, hey, you should share this. And I'm like, no, I can't share this because it's an experiment. Like, I don't know if this is really going to work out. Like, it's working for me, but I don't know if it'll work for other people. But now that I've got young adults, now that my kids are young adults, and they like our relationship is so far beyond what I would allowed to have ever said 8 years ago. And now I'm seeing what their life has become as a result of the lessons they learned when they started getting my best and my first instead of my last and my least. And that's the difference. Prior to that driveway moment, my family got my last and my least. Now they get my best and my first, and they'll continue to do that. And now I get to mentor them forever. And so it was a while ago. And that's why I say I can only share this message with you because I got it wrong for quite a while before I got it right. And I know what it feels like. And I don't want anybody to have to feel that way any longer. There is a way to get it right. You integrate your family and your business, make them your most valuable business, and it will change your life and their life forever. Here's the coolest part. I've achieved some awesome success since that point. I have a mentor in Kevin Harrington. I'm well on my way to my biggest business venture of my life. I still have the same truck that I had that day in that moment. I still live in the same house. I still have the same wife. I still have the same kids. The only thing that changed that day was me. And because
Mm.
I changed, it changed their lives forever. And we're all on a different trajectory. So if you think you've got to change everything or move somewhere or change partners or change your house, whatever, you don't. You just got to change what's between your ears, and it can change everything and every outcome of your life.
Yeah, all takes starts off with that responsibility. Now, one thing that you talk about in the book as well is failure. And Kevin Harrington says that he's in a conference, he talks about how he failed probably more than everybody there.
Yep.
Now, with my audience predominantly, we have a lot of younger entrepreneurs. What would you say was like one of the biggest lessons you learned from failure, or something that you can pass on to younger entrepreneurs? Like, what could shortcut a lot of time for them that took you years to learn?
Okay, so I call, a lot of times young entrepreneurs fall into the category of a procrastinating perfectionist. They're trying to get their idea perfect. They want it to be perfect before they launch it. That's a big mistake. That what Kevin says is, so he's had 20 businesses go to over 100 million, but he's had 700 businesses he's been involved in. So the ratio there is not so great, right? So he's saying fail fast. Okay, don't take an idea to 100%. There's no such thing. Get it to 60%, 65%, 70%, and launch it and find out what the marketplace says about it. Fail fast, fail cheap, and know that failure isn't fatal. Okay. And it's not final. It's just part of the process. The chapter that you're talking about is called From Failure to Phoenix. Phoenix is a mythical bird. They only get stronger if the previous version of itself dies. In the entrepreneurial world, that means your idea failed. But because of that idea, you then made a pivot and you got stronger and you learned from it, and your next idea is even better. And so Zig would say, nobody drowns from falling in water. They drown because they stay there. So you got to get up, dry yourself off, brush yourself off, and get moving again. So my advice is fail fast. Don't be afraid of failure. It's part of the process. Anyone who's ever been super successful has failed a lot. Kevin has failed more than anybody I've ever known, yet he's one of the most successful people I know. So the big misnomer for young entrepreneurs is I can't fail. And the truth is, you should say, have I failed yet? Because failing fast, failing cheap is the fastest way to success.
Yeah, most definitely. And even in the book, I underlined, there's a headline you have there that says, but don't fail on purpose. Right.
No,
Right.
don't fail on purpose. Fail with intentionality. I mean, but get yourself out there. Fail fast, fail cheap means I don't fail just to fail. I failed because I put myself out there. I took a risk, and you learn from that. And so, but go all in. I mean, but have mentors that will help you, to lift you up. That's why we need mentors, so that we can fail and they can help us learn from our failures and then help us to not make that same mistake again.
Yeah. So, hey, Mark, I really appreciate your time here. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing some wisdom with us. Is there any last words that you want to leave everybody with when it comes to Mentor to Millions, or just anything about life philosophy in general?
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. If we're talking to a lot of young entrepreneurs, I can relate. I mean, so can Kevin. We were both there, and so here's the deal. You weren't put on this earth to be alone. You're not supposed to do this alone. The worst thing you can do is try to be an entrepreneur by yourself. There are people out there to help. Okay, raise your hand. If you're ready, the mentor will appear. Get a mentor, be their best student, start teaching other people, and you'll be well on your way to your own exponential impact. And we want that journey to start now. In fact, if you'll go get the book wherever, Mentor to Millions, you can find it everywhere. We're, like I said, we're number one on parenting, number one in entrepreneurship, number one in all these categories. So just type in Mentor to Millions. You can't miss it. But then we're going to do something. We did this just for people who pre-ordered, and now we're live. But for your community, we're going to do this. If once you buy the book, you'll come back and you'll go to kevinmentor.com, kevinmentor.com, put in your receipt so we know you bought it. Kevin and I will give you 30 days of mentorship. 30 days of mentorship from an original shark from Shark Tank, myself. We'll talk about family. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about relationships. After 30 days, you'll have the confidence to always have a mentor in your life. So go get the book, then go to kevinmentor.com and get your journey to exponential impact started now.
Awesome. Well, again, Mark, really appreciate your time, my man. And I can't speak highly enough about this book. This is a book that I'll revisit over and over just to have with me, just to remind myself of the lessons of things that I've underlined. So very, very powerful book. Make sure you go get that copy of that book, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.